My name is Dolores Khalil, and I'm 34 years old. People see me now. A woman running 2 warehouses, 12 employees, and a 6-figure specialty parts business. And think I must have come from money, connections, or some kind of golden staircase that delivered me straight into success. If only they knew. I built my company the same way I've built everything in my life, with my hands, my stubbornness, and a kind of quiet, relentless fire that never quite goes out. That fire started burning the night my father's world collapsed. He worked factory jobs his whole life. Modest paychecks, steady hours, and a belief, a dangerous one, I'd later learn, that companies reward loyalty. In 2008, when the economy shriveled like frostbitten fruit, his employer folded. His 401k? Gone. I remember him sitting at my tiny kitchen table, shoulders slumped, staring at a printout like it was a death notice. 30 years, he whispered. 30 years, Dolores, and I'm getting pennies. Then he looked up and something shifted in his eyes. A message, a warning, a prophecy. Build something they can't take away from you, he said. Don't trust anyone else with your future. Not companies, not investors, not anyone. I didn't know it then, but that sentence would become the backbone of my entire life. The following year, I scraped together every dollar I had, $8,000. That money was supposed to be sensible, adult things. A car upgrade, a security deposit on a better apartment, maybe something resembling a savings account. Instead, I rented a corner of a 600-square-foot warehouse that smelled permanently of diesel and burnt rubber. The air was so thick with the scent of used tires that my clothes reeked even after washing them twice. I didn't have a real office, just a folding table, a computer that needed 5 minutes to wake up, a phone line shared with the guy back at my apartment. My routine was brutal. Up at 5 a.m., calling Europe before their workday ended. From 6 to noon, cold calling salvage yards. Across the U.S. afternoons. Were picking up parts myself because delivery fees were a luxury I couldn't afford. Evenings were inventory lists, emails, invoicing, and learning part numbers until I dreamed about them. Year 1, I grossed $18,000, cleared maybe 12 after expenses. That's when people started saying, "Why don't you get a real job?" But I wasn't building for them. I was building something no one could take from me. By year 3, I'd moved into my own space, 2,000 square feet. Hired my first employee, a parts guy named Frank, whose hands were always stained with grease and whose memory for car models was freakishly good. By year 5, I had 2 trucks, 4 employees, and enough inventory to stop storing overflow in my guest bedroom. By year 11, the business finally looked the way I'd always imagined. 2 warehouses totaling 8,000 square, 12 employees, 50,000 plus parts cataloged, steady relationships with European suppliers, and last year's profit, $280,000 after payroll and expenses. Not Silicon Valley billionaire money, but honest money, debt-free money, money I earned with my bones and my will. And that's who I was when I met Nathan Hayes. It was at the annual Rocky Mountain Car Show, a place where car enthusiasts flock like moths to chrome. I had a booth set up with some of my rarest finds. Authentic Weber carburetors for a 65 Ferrari, Nos Fuchs wheels polished so gently they almost glowed. Most people walked past like they were touring a museum. Nathan didn't. He arrived with his sister, Brooke, glamorous, loud, in a sundress that screamed money. But Nathan? He had a disarming smile, a curious tilt to his head, and a warmth that felt out of place among growling engines and oily hands. He leaned down toward the carburetors, eyebrows raised. "Are those originals?" he asked. "For a 275? I blinked. Most people only pretended to know what they were looking at. "Yeah," I said slowly. "Matching numbers. You actually know cars?" He grinned. "My uncle restored a Jaguar E-Type when I was a kid. I spent months thinking carburetors were magic. We talked about cars, Colorado winters, how vintage parts feel like treasure hunting. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't talking to someone who saw me as the parts girl. He asked thoughtful questions. He laughed easily. He didn't stare at my hands like grease was contagious. Before Brooke dragged him away, he handed me his phone. "Let me give you my number," he said, "just in case you ever need someone to make you look organized." His contact name popped up as Nathan Hayes, not actually boring. I laughed harder than I had in months. Nathan worked as an office manager at a dental practice. Steady job. Good insurance, a life that made sense on paper. In the beginning, we were balanced. No one was dependent. No one was trying to control the other. We joked that he brought order and I brought chaos. What I didn't realize was that Nathan came from the kind of family where wealth wasn't just money. It was language, culture, expectation. His father, Donald Hayes, owned a chain of furniture stores. His mother, Patricia, came from real estate money. They lived in Cherry Hills Village, which, if you're unfamiliar, is the kind of neighborhood where even the pigeons seem wealthy. The first time we pulled into their circular driveway, Italian stone pavers, a fountain that probably required its own maintenance staff, I felt my truck shrink beneath me. Nathan squeezed my hand. "They'll love you," he promised. But when Patricia opened the door, her gaze flicked over my truck, my outfit, my everything, with a softness that felt like velvet covering a blade. "Dolores," she said, smiling too perfectly, "so lovely to meet you." Lovely, a word that can mean 1,000 things, none of them honesty. Inside, the house was a cathedral of wealth, art that didn't look like it belonged in a home. Ceilings made for chandeliers, hallways long enough to host charity galas. At the dining table, seating for 12, even though there were only 5 of us, the meal unfolded like a performance where I was the unwilling lead. Donald carved his prime rib with the precision of a man used to commanding rooms. "So," he said, "Nathan tells us you run some kind of business?" "I run an automotive parts distribution company," I corrected with a smile. "European components. Hard to find inventory." "Entrepreneurial," Patricia chimed in. The word dripped with politeness and condescension in equal measure. Donald leaned back. "And how long have you been doing that?" 11 years. "No investors?" Patricia asked, eyebrows lifted. "No. Sole owner. No partners." "Interesting," she said. The questions kept coming. "How much revenue? Any debt? Any partners? Insurance? Succession plan? Financial advisor? Plans to expand? Plans to bring in family?" By the end of the night, I felt dissected, classified, filed away for later review. On the drive home, Nathan gave my knee a gentle squeeze. "See, that wasn't so bad." I didn't know how to explain the feeling in my chest, that something had shifted beneath the surface like a quiet earthquake no one else felt. I thought I'd just met my boyfriend's parents. I didn't realize they had just assessed me like a business acquisition. Nathan and I had been together for 2 years when he proposed. 2 good years, or at least that's what I believed at the time, years that felt balanced, adult, almost peaceful. He respected my business. I respected his need for routine. We split everything evenly. We traveled, we laughed. We lived in 2 separate homes, each paid for by our own efforts. Looking back, I can see the cracks, hairline fractures forming beneath the surface. But at the time, I thought we were building something real. Nathan proposed at Dream Lake in Rocky Mountain National Park. He'd planned it for months, though at the time I only saw the romance, not the choreography. Sunset reflecting on the water, a tiny bottle of champagne tucked inside his backpack, a ring that sparkled even before I said yes. He dropped to one knee, voice trembling just enough to make it feel sincere. "Dolores, will you marry me?" And I, tough, grease-stained, self-built Dolores, melted. I said yes. He cried, I cried, we kissed with the mountains glowing behind us, like nature's approval stamped across the sky. I didn't know then that the ring came with a price tag I'd never anticipated. The wedding planning started the next morning. I mean literally, the next morning. I was still wiping sleep from my eyes when Nathan said, "So, Aspen or Vail?" I blinked. "What?" "For the resort wedding," he said, already scrolling Pinterest. "We need to book early." I'd imagined something small, 20 to 30 people, simple dress, simple venue, a ceremony we'd remember not because it was extravagant, but because it was ours. Nathan and his family imagined something very different. A full weekend Aspen resort wedding, 200 guests, cascading floral arches, a string quartet for the ceremony, and a 12-piece band for the reception. Ice sculptures, drone videography, a custom whiskey bar, designer tableware imported from Italy. "This is a lot," I'd said carefully, staring at the spreadsheet Nathan made me look at. "It's one day, babe," he replied, with that soft voice he used when he wanted me to be reasonable. "My parents are covering half. We deserve something beautiful." "Your parents covering half," I said, "means they'll expect something in return." Nathan laughed, a short, dismissive sound. "It's a wedding, not a hostage negotiation." I should have listened to my instincts. I should have remembered my father's warning. But I wanted Nathan to be happy. I wanted the engagement glow to last a little longer. I wanted the fairy tale everyone else seemed to get. So I compromised, then compromised again, and again. The wedding budget ballooned. Venue, $22,000. Catering and open bar, $18,000. Band, $12,000. Coordinator, $6,000. Photographer and videographer, $8,500. Flowers and decor, $7,000. Dress, $5,500. Tuxes, $3,000. I kept a spreadsheet because I needed to feel in control of something. But the numbers weren't the only things ballooning. So were the expectations. Nathan's mother, Patricia, became my wedding shadow. She'd send lengthy text messages about upgrades we simply must consider, often attaching price estimates that made me nauseous. Dolores, darling, linen napkins are fine, but silk would make the whole room feel more elevated. Dolores, sweetheart, we really should consider plated meals instead of buffet. It's more dignified. Dolores, dear, the bridesmaid dresses need to coordinate with the table setting. It's basic visual cohesion. Every message felt like someone adjusting the strings attached to my body. But the comments that truly made my stomach tighten were the ones she said during Sunday dinners. So, Dolores, how exactly is your business structured again? Do you really handle all the financial decisions alone? Have you considered bringing family into the company? It builds stability. Each question sounded polite. Every one of them felt like a red flag. One dinner, Donald leaned across the table, elbows resting on a tablecloth that probably cost more than my entire kitchen. You've built something impressive, Dolores, he said. But businesses plateau unless you have capital and experience behind them. You should think bigger. I'm growing at the pace I'm comfortable with, I replied. Comfortable, he repeated, like it was a synonym for failure. Nathan gave me a tight smile as if to say, just go with it. I gave a tight smile back that meant, what exactly do you expect me to go with? Still, I tried. I really tried. Because I loved Nathan. Because I wanted to believe his parents' world wasn't a trap. Because women like me, women who build alone, who don't come from wealth, are taught to feel grateful when a door opens, even if it only opens for someone else to examine you more closely. The turning point came 3 months before the wedding. We were at his parents' house for dinner. Everything felt normal. Expensive wine, 2 perfect roast, Brooke laughing at something irrelevant. Then, after dessert, Donald said, Dolores, could we speak in my study for a moment? His tone was warm, too warm, like honey poured over something poisonous. Nathan squeezed my hand, whispering, It's fine. Just go. It'll be quick. I followed Donald and Patricia down a hallway lined with photographs from charity galas and magazine features. Their study looked like a set from a prestige drama, mahogany panels, leather-bound books, a Globe drinks cabinet. Donald motioned for me to sit. We wanted to talk about your future, he began. My stomach tightened. Our families are joining, Patricia added smoothly. And when families unite, assets and goals should align as well. Alarm bells, everywhere. Donald leaned back, fingers steepled. Dolores, we'd like you to transfer 30% of your company to us as a wedding gift, a gesture of trust. I stared at him, genuinely thinking I misunderstood. A wedding gift? Yes, Patricia said, smiling like she was offering me dessert. It symbolizes unity, partnership, stability, and control, I said quietly. Donald's smile didn't falter. Control is such a negative word. Think of it as guidance. We have decades of business experience. We can help you scale. No, I said immediately. Absolutely not. The temperature in the room dropped. Donald's jaw tightened. Think carefully, Dolores. This is a reasonable ask. It's not reasonable, I replied. It's opportunistic. Patricia's voice sharpened. We are trying to include you. You should be grateful. Grateful. There was that word again. The one meant to remind people like me where we supposedly belong. My answer is no, I repeated. When I walked back to the dining room, Nathan looked hopeful, idiotically hopeful, like he expected me to beam and say yes. Instead, I said, we're leaving. The car ride home was cold silence until Nathan snapped. Couldn't you at least consider it? Consider giving away a third of my life's work? I said calmly. No. You're being dramatic. They're trying to help. No, I said, louder this time. They want ownership. That's not help. Nathan didn't speak again for the rest of the drive. But I did, to myself, quietly, coldly. I realized this wedding was no longer about 2 people choosing each other. It was about what my business was worth to them, and what I was worth without it. I wish I could say things got better after that night in the study. But denial is a powerful drug, and for a few days I tried to convince myself that love could smooth over the ugliness I'd just witnessed. It couldn't. The pressure campaign began immediately. First came the calls from Patricia. Her voice, syrupy sweet, the kind of sweetness that sticks to your teeth. Dolores, darling, you misunderstood. It wasn't a demand, just a conversation between future family. Then came Donald. You're jeopardizing long-term success because you're too attached to control. Then Brooke. You're making things harder for everyone. Just think about Nathan. Nathan himself didn't call. He texted. Short messages, shorter sentences, longest silences. He stayed at his condo more, came home less. Sometimes not at all. Whenever I asked if he wanted to talk, he'd say, not right now, or you're too emotional, or let's discuss it after the wedding plans are settled. After the wedding plans, not before, not with me, not as equals. The emotional distance grew like mold, quiet, spreading, destructive. 2 weeks before the wedding, I came home from the warehouse late. Orders were backed up, and I'd spent half the day sorting mislabeled parts, and the other half calling suppliers in Germany. My head hurt, my back ached, and I just wanted, God help me, to curl up next to the man I thought loved me. Instead, I opened my phone to a message from Tyler, my closest friend and business confidant. His text read, "You need to see this, not later. Now!" Attached was a picture. It showed Nathan sitting in a dimly lit restaurant. Across from him was a woman leaning into him, her hand resting lightly, intimately, on his arm. Their faces were close, too close, both smiling, both absorbed in each other. Her name was Kayla. I recognized her from one of the dental practice's holiday events. Nathan's ex, his "we're just friends" ex, his "we only dated in college, it meant nothing" ex. My throat tightened, my hands went numb. I called Nathan, straight to voicemail. I texted, "We need to talk, call me." No reply. I drove to his condo. His car was there. His lights were on. He didn't answer the door. The next morning, I did something I had never done before. I checked our shared phone plan. I'm not proud of it, but I also don't regret it. Pages and pages of calls and texts, late nights, early mornings, lunch breaks, weekends, all to the same number, Kayla's number. My heart didn't shatter, it calcified. I dug deeper, our bank statements, charges for restaurants I'd never been to, hotel stays, one in Vail. The same weekend, Nathan had gone to a dental management conference. I checked the conference schedule online. There had been no conference. Everything inside me went cold and still, like someone had turned down the temperature of my soul. And then something worse happened. The pieces started connecting. Kayla, the sudden emotional distance, the timing of his parents' demand, the urgency around finalizing the wedding, his parents insisting on equity transfer before the marriage license. It hit me like a punch to the chest. They wanted part of my company. Nathan wanted out. And a wedding was the perfect legal vehicle to bind everything together. My phone buzzed with a new message from Nathan. "Can we talk tomorrow? I'm tired tonight." I stared at the screen, a bitter laugh catching in my throat. Talk tomorrow. Tomorrow after he'd rehearsed. Tomorrow after he'd prepared the perfect explanation. Tomorrow after the damage was done. No, he didn't deserve tomorrow. By morning, I had a plan. The first person I went to was not Nathan. It was my lawyer, the same man who helped me form my LLC 11 years ago. He had watched me crawl out of financial rubble and build something from nothing. When I showed him the evidence, the phone logs, the hotel receipts, screenshots of messages, the equity demand, he didn't look shocked. He looked angry. "What do you want to do?" he asked me. "I want protection," I said. "Legal, financial, personal." He nodded. We spent 3 hours drafting a document explicitly stating, "My company belongs solely to me. No agreements, verbal or otherwise, gave anyone claim to it. Any attempt to secure equity through coercion or marriage would be contested." Then we built a timeline of everything: the demand, the pressure, the cheating, the financial discrepancies, the manipulation. He looked at the pile of printed evidence and said, "They won't win." I said, "I'm not giving them the chance to try." Next, I went to the wedding venue. The planner greeted me with a rehearsed smile until she saw my face. "I need to cancel," I told her. She blinked. "You're 13 days out." "I know. You'll lose the deposits." "I know. Do you want us to notify the groom?" "No," my voice came out steadier than I felt. "Email confirmation to me only." She hesitated, then nodded. And just like that, a $50,000 circus evaporated. When I got home, I packed. Not my stuff. Nathan's. Every shirt, every pair of shoes, every shaving kit, book, jacket, photograph, and leftover toothbrush. I packed them neatly, calmly, methodically, the way you pack hazardous materials. By the time I finished, it looked like his presence had been erased, like he'd never lived there at all. Tyler arrived as the sun was setting. "Are you sure you want to do this tonight?" he asked. "I'm sure." "You want me to stay?" "Absolutely." He nodded, rolled up his sleeves, and stood behind me like a silent wall. At 6:12 p.m., Nathan finally texted, "On my way. Door unlocked?" I wrote back, "Yes, come in." And I stood there, calm, steady, blisteringly clear, waiting for him to walk into the room where his lies were laid out like evidence on a table, waiting for the moment everything would finally break. Nathan walked through my front door like a man expecting an argument he'd already prepared for. What he did not expect was the sight of his entire life packed into boxes, stacked neatly against the living room wall. He froze. What is this?" he asked, voice cracking slightly. I didn't answer right away. I watched him look from the boxes to me, then to Tyler, standing at the far end of the room, arms crossed, not hostile but firm, a witness, a shield. "Dolores," Nathan said slowly, "why is my stuff packed?" I picked up my phone from the coffee table, tapped once, turned the screen toward him. The image of him and Kayla at the restaurant glowed between us, the two of them leaning in close, smiling like they were sharing a secret I was never meant to hear. His face drained of color. "What is that supposed to be?" he whispered. "Evidence," I replied, "and that's just the appetizer." I set the phone down again, then laid out the printouts on the table. Phone call logs, late-night texts, restaurant charges, hotel receipts. His conference weekend in Vail, where no conference existed, Nathan stared at the papers like they were written in a language he'd never learned. "I can explain," he finally said. "You should," I replied, "because right now, the only thing I see is a man who cheated on me while his parents were trying to steal my company." "That's not, Dolores, it's not what you think." Tyler cleared his throat. "Before you continue, Nathan, this conversation is being recorded. Colorado is a one-party consent state." Nathan's panic spiked instantly. "What? You can't—" "I'm the consenting party," I said calmly. "Continue." He looked between us, his expression twisting into something ugly. "You're seriously doing this? Recording me? Packing my things like I'm some criminal?" "You are," I said softly, "just not the kind that goes to jail." He flinched. I gestured to the table. "Start explaining. Make it good." Nathan sank onto the couch like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. He dragged a hand through his hair. "Kayla and I, we reconnected," he murmured. "Reconnected?" My voice stayed cold. "Try again." "We were just talking at first. Things were stressful, with my parents, with the wedding." "Stop," I said. "Stress doesn't put your name on hotel receipts." Nathan's face twisted. "You pushed me away. You were obsessed with your business. You wouldn't even consider my parents' offer." "Offer?" I laughed once. Sharp. "Nathan, it was extortion wearing a bow tie." "They were trying to help us," he snapped. "They wanted to make sure our future was secure. You acted like they were the enemy." "Because they were," I said, "and you sided with them." He shook his head. "You're twisting it. Kayla just listened. She understood. And you—" "And I what?" I leaned in. "Built something they couldn't buy? Refused to let them sink their claws into my company? Refused to let them own you and me?" Nathan's silence was answer enough. I took a breath. "The wedding is canceled." His head snapped up. You canceled it?" "Yesterday," I said. "The venue emailed confirmation. Guests will get their notices tomorrow morning." You can't just do that." "I can," I replied, and I did. Nathan stood abruptly. "What is wrong with you? You're throwing away everything, our relationship, our future, everything we planned, because of a misunderstanding." I felt my heart go very still. "A misunderstanding," I repeated. "Nathan, you cheated on me. You tried to hide it. And your family tried to manipulate me into giving them a third of my company." "It wasn't cheating," he shouted. "It was emotional. We didn't—" "You did enough," I said. Tyler stepped forward, voice low. "Dolores, want me to read the timestamps on the hotel receipts?" "No," I said. "Nathan knows what he did." Nathan's chest rose and fell quickly. He looked trapped by the evidence, by the truth, and maybe, finally, by his own guilt. "Dolores," he said quietly, desperate now, "we can fix this." "There's nothing left to fix." "Please," he whispered. "Don't do this. Don't throw me out." "I'm not throwing you out, Nathan." I gestured toward the boxes. "I'm helping you leave." His eyes filled, not with sorrow, but with anger. "You think you're better than me," he hissed. "You and your little business. My parents were right about you." "That," I said, "is exactly why this is over." He grabbed one of the smaller boxes like it weighed 100 pounds, stumbling toward the door. At the threshold, he turned back. "My family will destroy you for this," he spat. I met his glare with the calm I didn't know I possessed. They can try, I said, but I have documentation and a lawyer. What do you have, Nathan? He hesitated, then slammed the door so hard the walls shook. Tyler let out a low whistle. Well, that was dramatic. I'm done with dramatic, I said, but I knew I wasn't. Not yet. The fallout came immediately. The next day, I sent the cancellation message to the wedding guests. Due to circumstances beyond our control, the wedding between Dolores and Nathan has been canceled. We appreciate your understanding. No further details will be provided. My phone buzzed nonstop. Family, coworkers, distant acquaintances suddenly interested in the gossip they assumed they deserved. I answered none of them. Donald, however, didn't leave it at missed calls. His lawyer sent me a letter accusing me of breaching a verbal agreement to transfer 30% of my business. I almost laughed. My lawyer responded with a timeline of events, evidence of coercion, evidence of Nathan's affair, evidence that no agreement existed. He also included a threat of a countersuit for harassment. The silence after that was immediate. But Nathan wasn't done. He took to social media. Vague posts, melodramatic quotes, hints that I had been controlling, ungrateful, cold. His friends messaged me with fake concern. His cousins posted supportive comments under his pity posts. His mother posted a Bible verse about women who destroy their homes with their own hands. Classy. I thought I'd have to endure months of their smear campaign. Then salvation arrived in the form of a message from a woman named Jennifer, a coworker from Nathan's dental office. Dolores, she wrote, I don't know if you want this information, but you deserve it. She told me. Nathan and Kayla had been involved for months. The office staff had suspected it long before I saw the picture. Nathan's performance had tanked. Kayla had recently been promoted. Coincidence or not. Nathan's parents had been pressuring him to secure equity from me before the wedding. Everyone here knows the truth now, Jennifer added. You dodged a bullet. Dodged? I felt like I'd sidestepped a falling skyscraper. In the weeks that followed, the truth spread quietly. People backed away from Nathan's narrative. Donald and Patricia disappeared from social events. 2 of their furniture stores closed. Rumors spread about financial trouble, lawsuits, bad investments. Karma doesn't knock, it kicks in the door. As for me, I went back to work, packed orders, filed invoices, walked my warehouses with the same pride I had the day I opened my first folding table office. And sometimes, late at night, when the world was quiet, I'd walk into my workshop, smell the oil and metal, and hear my father's voice again. Build something they can't take away from you. So I did, and I kept it. And I walked away before anyone could convince me I owed them a piece of it.